Sam, my dude, Saiyan Salamander here, and welcome to my Pokemon Regional Variant Theorycrafting video. As I'm making this video, we haven't heard anything else about the Gen 4 remakes coming to the Switch later this year, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, and I'm really hoping to hear more from it soon. My main hope is that Mega Evolution will return, and we'll finally get some new Mega Evolutions after not getting any additions since 2014 when Auras was released. But another big hope of mine is for us to get some cool Sinnohlian variants added to the game. While I haven't been too big of a fan of the Galarian and Alolan variants we've received so far, I really love the concept, and I've made so many ideas for new variants across multiple regions while playing Pokemon D&D with my friends last year. So with Gen 4 remakes fast approaching, I figured I'd talk about a few of the Sinnohlian ones I've come up with. For this video, I've got 5 different evolution lines that will take on a brand new form when caught in the Sinnoh region. By the way, my friend PxlStephen, who was also part of that campaign, has been bringing my ideas to life and designed all of the variants that are featured in this video, so defo check out his Twitter and Patreon in the description. The main landmark of the Sinnoh region is of course the giant mountain slap bang in the middle of Mount Coronet. So I figured if I'm making regional variants that adapt to the region's climate, then Mount Coronet is probably the most interesting one to base some new forms on. If you haven't played any of the Gen 4 games, then let me tell you about Mount Coronet. It has a bunch of different levels and even more Pokemon to find within it. You've got your standard cave Pokemon like Gravelers and Golbats in the caverns, some more ice-themed Pokemon like Snover towards the peak. There's even some fighting and psychic mons like Meditite and Chingling that live there too. Plus Mount Coronet has this weird magnetic energy emanating from it, which helps certain Pokemon like Nosepass and Magneton evolve into new stages like Probopass and Magnezone. So I think it's the perfect location for a new variant, which is why first up I'm going to be talking about the puppy Pokemon, Rockruff, who's decided to call this mountain its new home. Mount Coronet especially, but the Sinnoh region is mostly a pretty cold place, especially compared to Rockruff's old home in Alola. So in Sinnoh, I changed things up and made it go from a rock type to an ice type. Its colours match the cold climate a lot more, and it's a popular house pet across the region, but it's way more common in colder climates like Snowpoint City and Twinleaf Town. If you're wondering how Rockruff ended up in Sinnoh in the first place, it's because tourists to Alola caught Rockruff and brought it back to the hometown of Sinnoh, and after years of them multiplying and being released back into the wild, they ended up adapting and settling in Mount Coronet. Stat-wise, there's nothing much too different, and Rockruff basically just switches attack and speed around, with its Sinnohlian form not hitting as hard, but being a little bit faster. Moveset-wise, it's not too much different either, just replacing most of the Rock Stab moves like Rock Throw and Stone Edge with Ice Ball and Icicle Crash. I also didn't change Rockruff's abilities much, keeping Keen Eye and then Steadfast as a hidden ability, but swapping Vital Spirit with Freezing Point, a new ability I got from Pokemon D&D, which is basically an Ice-type version of Blaze, powering up Ice moves when it's on low health. I think Rockruff's evolutions is where the variant really starts to get interesting though. Instead of evolving based on the time of day, Rockruff evolves into Lycanroc starting from level 25, based on where at Mount Coronet you are when it evolves. And to top things off, Sinnoh Lycanroc gets a new additional typing for each evolution too. Midday Lycanroc becomes Cavern Form Lycanroc. It evolves into an Ice-Electric type due to the weird magnetism inside of Mount Coronet, and as the name implies, it evolves into this form when Rockruff reaches level 25 within Mount Coronet. It's very popular as a sled dog, and many researchers and hikers use it to move their sleds around due to the power and speed of it. And their electric type is handy to help them charge their equipment when hiking up the mountain as well. So electric typing makes its first stand up, and it can look quite similar sometimes to the stones found in Chargestone Cave in the Unova region, which makes sense since Chargestone Cave and Mount Coronet give off a weird similar magnetic wave of energy. Lycanroc Cavern form starts a very different form from its midday form. It's got 10 less points in defense and special defense, and 25 points less in attack, but it does gain 35 points in its special attack, making it much better as a mix attacker. As for its abilities, it keeps Keen Eye but gains Slush Rush to move faster in snowstorms, and gets Galvanized for its hidden ability, granting any normal type moves it's got a boost in power as well as the added electric typing with stab damage. Some electric and ice type moves are added to its moveset. With how fast it is, I figured it made sense to give this Lycanroc form extreme speed, and when combined with Galvanize makes for a shocking threat in the battlefield. Next up is the Summit Lycanroc form, which is based on its Midnight version in Alola. It becomes an Ice Dark type, and like the name implies, evolves from Rockruff when you train it at the summit of Mount Coronet. The idea I came up with was based on Keaton from Fire Emblem. He's from a wolf tribe and attacks travelers and steals any item that it finds interesting from them. so I thought Lycanroc could do the same thing. And it's based on black ice too, since black ice is typically transparent, so I figured if its body had the properties of it, it could make itself blend in with its background, making it a lot more stealthy, and aids when it approaches its prey. It steals anything from people and Pokemon, and the leader of the pack is decided on the horde to collect. They occasionally steal from each other, but not as often, since Lycanroc get insanely mad when any of her possessions are taken from them. It's a lot faster than its Alolan counterpart, so it can quickly run in and run away from its victims, so I balance out its attack and speed rather than making one stat higher than the other. And for its abilities, it keeps Keen Eye too, but gets Intimidate, and a brand new hidden ability called Avaricious. Whenever an enemy gets a stat buff or debuff, Lycanroc will steal those stats, which is kinda like a double-edged sword, since it can be really handy when your foe sets up a belly drum, but it can be a major problem when your opponent just uses something like Superpower instead. I was thinking of just copying buffs, but I think this made the ability a bit more balanced. It references how Lycanroc will steal anything, whether it's valuable or not. And since it's a dark type now, it gets some new moves in its arsenal, getting moves like Parting Shot and Sucker Punch. Finally, we have the Off-Mountain form, based on Lycanroc Dusk. And the evolution method is probably what you guessed. Rockruff only evolves into this form when it reaches level 25 outside of Mount Coronet. The reason for this is a little dark since it's based on Hokkaido wolves, which are now extinct. And because they're dead, they're no longer on the mountain anymore. So when Rockruff evolves into this form, it becomes Ice Ghost type. Before the Pokemon Ranger stepped in to help, hunters, poachers, and disease almost wiped out the entire Lycanroc population. It's said that some of the phantom wolves that lost their lives still roam the mountain, seeking revenge on any poachers or hunters that come across their path. Snowstorms constantly pour out of the damaged ice crystals all over its body, and it will use them to make any human that enters its territory lose their way, or use the storm as a cover so that they can attack them themselves. Its stats don't change too much, other than dropping 10 points in special attack and investing it into its attack instead, as well as dropping 20 points in defense and moving them into special defense. Ability-wise, this Lycanroc form gets Snow Warning, Shadow Tag, and finally Curse Body for its hidden ability, as well as getting some cool new Ghost-type moves like Shadow Sneak and Shadow Claw. It also gets a brand new Ghost-type move, Soul Scatter. It's basically the Ghost-type version of Earthquake, so it's a fantastic move to use in battle. Whichever form your Sinnohlian Lycanroc takes, I think that'll be a strong addition to any team, or going through the Sinnoh region again. But since I always name my Midnight Lycanroc after Keaton from Fire Emblem, I think I'm still a little biased towards that one. Northeast of the main isle of the Sinnoh region lies the Battle Zone, which is actually where the rest of the variants I'll be talking about in this video call home. In the Battle Zone lies Start Mountain, home to Pokemon like Torkoal, Bayonet, and even the legendary Pokemon Heatran. And a new variant that can be discovered here is Sinnohlian Teddiursa, which changes from a normal type into a Fire Ghost type. Sinnohlian Teddiursa is a kind and naive Pokemon. It's very quick to trust others and will often give items it finds to humans and Pokemon that it likes. However, its nature makes it easier for poachers and hunters to capture it. Meanwhile, Ursaring is a vulnerable species, so it's often hunted or poached and sold on the black market. Unlike its pre-evolution, Ursaring despises humans and will attack them on sight. Unless it's known a human since its cubhood, it would take a lot of time to warm up to you. Both Teddiursa and Ursaring now sport a ghostly green colour scheme, featuring some blood red parts to highlight it more and show off a bit of the fire typing. Speaking of fire typing, a large green fire burns from behind it. It burns even stronger and more fiercely when Teddiursa is frightened or when Ursaring is enraged. Teddiursa's got a cute full moon symbol on its head, and it burns green at night differently depending on what moon is out. As for Ursaring, its fur used to be a dark green colour all over, but eventually the dried blood of the poachers it killed dyed its claws and face red, with a black mark underneath its eyes being where the blood has been washed away from its tears after seeing the fellow Teddiursa and Ursaring killed. I tried to reference Teddiursa being a gentle creature and Ursaring's aggressive nature within both of their abilities. So starting off with Teddiursa, it has Runaway, Pickup, and finally Honeygather for its hidden ability. But when Teddiursa evolves, it becomes a lot more aggressive, swapping out all three abilities for Intimidate, Tough Claws, and its hidden ability, which is a new one called Relentless. It's basically a burn version of Merciless, Toxapex's signature ability. Moveset-wise, it gets some fun new moves like Flare Blitz and Phantom Force, which it didn't have access to before, and some moves that change as it evolves, swapping Fake Tears as Teddiursa to Grudge as an Ursaring. Stat-wise, Teddiursa gets a little bit faster, and trades a bit of its attack stat for the added speed, whereas with Ursaring it trades HP bulk and attack for a much higher speed stat, and a little bit of special attack too, so it has the option of being a physical or special attacker now. But with Tough Claws as its hidden ability and its moveset it has access to, I still think a physical attacker is where its strength lies, but it's nice to have some more options for it, and it's a Pokemon I'd love to use throughout the game and competitively too. So back when I was creating a bunch of variants for Poke D&D, I thought it'd be cool to come up with ideas for all of the starters. I think I've got a general idea and concept for all of them so far, apart from the Hoenn ones and I think one of the Kalos starters too, and decided to base the Kanto starter variants in the Sinnoh region. In the battle zone there are 3 main areas within it. There's the fight area, survival area, and finally the resort area. And since there's 3 starter Pokemon, I thought it'd be cool for each starter to live in one of the different areas of the battle zone, and base the design and concept heavily on each area. I think Steve came up with the idea to base Bulbasaur in the survival area, and gave it the typing Grass Ghost, and it has more of a desert-like theme. It has more of an orange and red coloration now, which helps it blend in with its surroundings, and now sports cacti on its back instead of the bulb plant that it had previously. As Bulbasaur evolves, the cacti on its back go larger and multiply, with the horns on its head also getting longer too. Its body colour also gets a little bit darker as it evolves too, and the cacti start showing a few more vibrant colours during the evolution process. The Bulbasaur line has a symbiotic relationship with the Cacnea line. The idea is that Bulbasaur's cactus juice has a very sweet smelling scent, which can attract tons of other Pokemon which then prey on the evolution line. Cacnea and Cacturne protect the Bulbasaur line from these Pokemon, and in return the Bulbasaur line offer the Cacnea line food and shelter as thanks for their protection. The only Pokemon that doesn't have a sweet smelling scent is Ivysaur, somewhat similar to Gloom in the Oddish line. Because of this, Ivysaur helped Cacnea and Cacturne protect its fellow Bulbasaur and Venusaur, since the appalling smelling cactus juice helps repel other Pokemon that try to prey on them. It's said that if a Cacnea or Cacturne falls while trying to protect a member of the Bulbasaur line, they'll be reborn into a Sinnohlian Bulbasaur somewhere across the region, which explains the Pokemon's newfound Ghost type. It gets some new Ghost type moves like Astonish and Phantom Force in its moveset, and even gets some moves from the Cacturne and Maractus line which I think will suit it, like Sandstorm, Needle Arm, and Pin Missile. Ability wise, I took Sandveil and Water Absorb as the hidden ability from Cacnea and Cacturne, and added a new ability called Fragrance, inspired by the lore of the Pokemon. It's basically Sweet Scent as an ability. Out of battle it attracts wild Pokemon more easily, and in battle it lowers the foe's evasion when it gets sent out. For the new stat spread, I switched the Bulbasaur line's attack stat with its special attack stat, and defense stat with its special defense stat. I also dropped its speed slightly as it goes into HP instead as it evolves, since I figured it would be heavier than the original line. Like its original counterpart, Sinnohlian Venusaur also has a Mega Evolution. Steve made it so that the marks on its body protrudes out and turns into spikes, made it grow another cactus on its tail, and just made the cacti on its back grow even more to an insane degree. I ended up keeping Thick Fat as the ability for its Mega since it's a big boy, plus since it keeps the grass typing, it's still weak to a lot of types, so I figured lessening the damage to 2 types that it's weak to is a great ability for it. Moving on from the rough desert landscape of the survival area to the tropical climate of the resort area, we move on to the location of our next variant, Sinnohlian Charmander, who changes from a fire type to a fairy dragon type. After years of relaxing and being pampered in the resort area, the Charmander line lost its fiery passion for battle, and eventually lost its ability to fly at high speeds as a Charizard, making it lose its fire typing. Instead, it gained the fairy typing to reflect its pampered lifestyle, and the dragon typing since the Charmander line always had draconic genes, and they were awakened through Mega Evolution, so I thought it'd be cool giving it the typing now. Besides, Fairy Dragon is an incredible typing, only seen on Mega Altaria, and I'd love to see it on another Pokemon. The colour scheme really screams Fairy type. Even with the Mega, Steve based it on Napoleon Ice Cream, and it suits the type really well since there's a lot of dessert themed Pokemon that are Fairy types. Steve made it so it gets bigger and bigger as it evolves, really showing the pampered lifestyle of it, having a similar body type to its Cantonian counterpart, but as it evolves it gets way more chunkier. So I reflected this in its ability. It gets pickup as a Charmander and Charmeleon, but then when it reaches Charizard, Thick Fat replaces it instead. And as for the other abilities, it gets access to Gluttony and Unaware for its hidden ability. As for the Mega, I figured it'd be like Snorlax where all it wants to do is eat and sleep all day. So I figured Comatose would be a great ability for it, with preventing it from sustaining any status condition since it's technically always sleeping. It's especially great on a bulky mon like Mega Charizard, since if you look at its stats, Charizard and Mega Charizard are extremely bulky, so not being able to kill its Mega through toxic stalling is actually huge. Also, you may have noticed, unlike regular Charizard, Sinnohlian Charizard only gets one Mega Evolution this time around. I thought it'd be wrong to show so much love to just one of the starters, and figured it'd be better to just leave it at one Mega Evolution instead. It'd be interesting having Sinnohlian Charizard having two Megas though. Maybe its other one could be Dark Dragon, and it'd be a lot speedier and more offensive due to being starved of food. It would basically be like the Mega equivalent of Morpeko, with one Mega being Hangry form and the other Mega being Full Belly form. For the Charmander line's new level up moveset, I swapped out all the fiery theme moves, replacing them with moves that fit the type more, like Play Rough, Moonlight, and even Misty Explosion. I also gave it Cotton Guard since I felt its body would have a very cakey feel to it, kinda like Slurpuff. So I figured Cotton Guard made sense to add since I'm fairly sure Slurpuff gets access to it too. In battle, it's basically a mixed attacking wall. It's definitely got the move pool to be whichever kind of attack it you want, and you can even run mixed, but its main feature is its insane HP pool and great defensive stats. If you like the Sinnohlian Charmander line and want to catch one for yourself, then you're gonna have a hard time, which is pretty fitting for the starter. I'm guessing most of the ones that live are from rich families that live around the area, but if you're lucky you may get to see a few wild ones around the city and its closest route too. Finally we reached the last Pokemon I'll be talking about in this video, which will be the Squirtle line. The only area left in the battle zone is the first place you visit when going there, the fight area. I figured I had to give it the fighting type, since it literally lives in the fight area. And for that secondary typing, I thought rock made sense because of the rock hard shells that they've got. The Squirtle's line still has that blue body colour scheme, but it becomes a darker shade of blue as it evolves. It's got like green and purple eyes now with a dark green shell on its back. It's also got rocks all over its body, making its usually soft limbs a lot tougher, and allows it to hit a lot harder too. However, unlike the Cantonian Squirtle line, it means it can't go back inside its shell as quickly, since those rocky bumps make it a bit more difficult to retract. Wartortle also loses its signature tail for a more standard looking one, and Blastoise trades the cannons for guns, having spikes all over its shell, just like Wartortle now does too, and it's a lot bigger and more imposing than its Cantonian counterpart. If I remember correctly, Steve tried to base the fighting style similarly to the Rapid Strike Urshifu, with the position the evolution line has its hands in, so it probably has a lot of slices and jabs with its fighting style. For its lore, I'm thinking maybe a group of Squirtle, Wartortle and Blastoise ended up lost at sea, and somehow managed to find their way to the battle zone in Sinnoh. Whilst they were there, they got inspired by the strength of the trainers and Pokemon there, and started training themselves, and after years of training became the Sinnohlian variants that I'm talking about now. Of course I didn't leave Blastoise out in the Mega department. In fact, I gave it 2 Mega Evolutions. I thought since Charizard got 2 in Kalos, that another one of the 3 starters should have its turn to get 2 Mega Evolutions this time. Sorry Venusaur, if I ever make more variants for Kanto starters for a different region, then I'll 100% give you 2 Megas next time. I'm still sticking to the X and Y themes with the Megas since those are the only games we ever got split Mega Evolutions with Mega Mewtwo X and Y and Charizard X and Y. Mega Sinnohlian Blastoise X is a more defensive one. It sticks to its huge imposing appearance, and to quote Steve, has more of a brass knuckle kind of deal going on, with the spiky shells on its fists acting like knuckle dusters, that it can smash into any foe to pierce with. It also swaps the rock typing for the steel typing to show how great of a defense it's gained when Mega Evolving, granting it immunity to poison and giving it a much better defensive typing overall too. Mega Sinnohlian Blastoise Y on the other hand is based on its original beta design of Blastoise, and sticks to Wartortle's design a lot more with the fins on its ears and a huge wavy tail. Steve based the legs on Cantonian Mega Blastoise, while the markings on it are based on G-Max design. It's also got a shell as a helmet, to help it in case it crashes into any walls, since it's surprisingly fast. I figure it uses its tail as a launch pad, and then uses the momentum from bouncing off of different surfaces to build up speed and crash into foes with insane force. And I could also see it being great in free-for-all battles, using some special attacking moves from inside its shell to hit multiple enemies at once. Stat-wise, the Sinnohlian Squirtle line is slightly faster than the Cantonian counterparts, and hits harder physically too. The trade-off is that it doesn't defend against special attackers as well, and is weaker as a special attacker itself too. Mega Blastoise X drops a little speed but gains a lot of bulk overall, with the large majority of its points going into defense and special defense, while Mega Blastoise Y is the opposite, not gaining any points in its defensive stats but gaining a ton of speed and becoming way more offensive and specially offensive too. Blastoise has some great abilities in its arsenal. It gets shell armor and bulletproof, with Solid Rock as its hidden ability. It's got huge power for its X Mega, making it Mega Mawile levels of strong, while being hella tanky too. And finally the Y Mega has Speed Boost, to reference it gaining speed as it builds up momentum, bouncing off surfaces like a pinball. I actually kept a lot of the Squirtle line's level up moveset, since it gets a ton of moves that still suit it, like Iron Defense, Shell Smash, and Rapid Spin. But I did trade the Water Stab moves for some that fit the type more, like Submission, Rock Slide, and even Dynamic Punch. I think competitively, Blastoise becomes a monster, and I could definitely see it getting at least UU, but OU being even more likely. As for its Mega Evolutions, I could see it even reaching Uber territory. Plus, I'd personally love the designs, especially all the cool references that Steve put in while making them. That's all the original variants I've got to talk about today, so I hope you enjoyed the video, my dudes. If you did, please give the video a like, subscribe to see more, and leave a comment on what regional variants you'd like to see in the Sinnoh region. Also, please check out Steve over on Twitter and Patreon. He draws a lot of cool Fakemon like the ones used in this video, and it definitely made the video a lot better, actually being able to show you the variant ideas we came up with, rather than just talking to you about the theme without any visual aids. So please go drop him a follow. And make sure to check out Jarrett over on Twitter and YouTube too. He edited this video for me and did a lot of my other recent videos too, so check out his links in the description too. I also have a Discord server and a Twitch channel in case you want to hang out with more of the community and see me play live playthroughs of games like Pokemon, Kingdom Hearts, and more. So if either of those sound like your kind of thing, then please go check out the links to both in the description below. And again, thank you guys for watching, and hopefully I'll see you around, my dudes. Until next time, bye!